Sometimes things do not go as we hope, but that is no reason to be sad. You are young and beautiful, but remember that true beauty comes from within. Kindness, humility, and a good heart are what truly make a person beautiful. In a certain village called Ugu, there was a place known for its peace and beauty. The villagers lived happily, and everyone knew everyone else. Ugu was famous for its beautiful maidens, girls who were a sight to behold. The village was also ruled by a kind and generous king, King Obieze. King Obieze had a daughter named Ulima. Ulima was not like her father at all. She was proud and arrogant. She believed she was the most beautiful girl in the whole village. This made her treat other girls badly. She would walk around with her nose in the air, not caring about anyone else. Uli, my daughter, please come down from your high horse. You need to be humble so you can get married. Women are like flowers. With time, their beauty fades. King Obieze would always advise her gently. I have heard you, father, Ulima would reply nonchalantly, not really listening to his words. Ulima treated her fellow maidens with disdain. She thought she was better than everyone else just because she was the king's daughter. She believed that only someone from royalty would be worthy enough to marry her. Look at her, so full of herself. The boys in the village would gossip each time she passed by. She thinks she is too beautiful for anyone here, another one would add. One sunny morning, the village maidens gathered at the stream to fetch water. The stream was a place where they would chat and laugh together. But when Ulima arrived, the mood changed. The maidens went silent, knowing she would say something mean or look at them with disdain. Good morning, Ulima, one brave maiden greeted her. Ulima looked at her from head to toe and said, What is good about this morning? Can't you see the sun is too hot? She walked past them without waiting for a reply. Her head held high. The maidens sighed and continued their chores. They talked among themselves, wondering why Ulima was so proud. Maybe if she was a little kinder, she would have more friends. One maiden said, She thinks because she is the king's daughter, she is better than all of us. Another one added. The next day, Ulima walked through the village with the same pride. She met a group of boys playing a game of Mbube Mbube, a traditional game. They stopped and whispered among themselves as she passed. Only royalty would marry this one. One boy said loudly enough for her to hear. Ulima tossed her head and walked on. She believed no one in the village was good enough for her. She imagined herself marrying a prince from a faraway kingdom, living in a grand palace. But her father, Obieze, worried about her. He called her again one evening. Uli, my daughter, come sit with me, he said gently. Uli sat down looking bored. Yes, father. Uli, you are my daughter and I love you very much. But I am worried about your pride. Being beautiful is a gift, but it is not everything. Kindness and humility are more important. I understand, father, Ulima replied, but her heart was not in her words. Days turned into weeks, and Ulima continued with her proud ways. The villagers talked about her, but no one dared to confront her directly. As time passed, Ulima continued to carry herself with pride and arrogance. She was beautiful, and she knew it. Her father, King Obieze, had often advised her to be humble and kind, but Ulima did not listen. She believed that only a prince could be good enough to marry her. One day, a young hunter named Eze decided to ask for Princess Ulima's hand in marriage. Eze was a kind and hardworking man. He was not rich, but he had a good heart. He admired Ulima's beauty and thought he could make her happy. With hope in his heart, Eze dressed in his best clothes and went to see Ulima. When he arrived at the palace, he found her sitting under a tree enjoying the shade. He greeted her politely. "Good afternoon, Ulima," Eze said with a smile. "Good afternoon," Ulima replied, looking at him with curiosity. "Eze, what brings you here today?" she asked, though she was not very interested. Eze took a deep breath and said, "Princess Ulima, I have come to ask for your hand in marriage. I may not be a prince, but I promise to love and care for you." Ulima's eyes widened in disbelief. She could not believe that a poor hunter had the audacity to ask for her hand in marriage. Her face twisted with anger and disdain. "How dare you come to insult me?" Ulima shouted. "A poor hunter coming to marry a whole me. Please go and look for your level somewhere else." She pointed to the road, signaling Eze to leave immediately. The other maidens who had been nearby giggled and whispered among themselves, enjoying the spectacle. Eze was too shocked to say anything. His heart sank, and he felt embarrassed and humiliated. Without another word, he turned and walked away, his head hanging low. The other maidens continued to laugh and whisper, adding to his shame. When Eze shared his audio with the other men in the village, they laughed at him. "Out of all the beautiful maidens in our community, it is that arrogant, spoiled girl you chose." One of the boys mocked him. "Did you really think she would say yes?" Another man added, shaking his head. Eze felt even more worse after hearing their words. He realized that Ulima's arrogance was well known, but he had hoped that she might have a kind heart beneath her proud exterior. Sadly, he was wrong. Meanwhile, in a neighboring village, there was a kingdom known for its wealth and affluence. The kingdom was ruled by King Wankwo, a wise king and a very wealthy king at that. King Wankwo had a son named Obiora, who was the envy of every girl in the region. Prince Obiora was handsome, kind and intelligent. Even the poorest maiden dreamt of marrying him. Ulima had heard many stories about Prince Obiora. She believed strongly that he would not be able to resist her beauty. Whenever she thought about him, her heart would race with excitement. She was sure that once Prince Obiora set his eyes on her, he would want to marry her immediately. Because of this, Ulima dismissed every other man who showed interest in her. To her, no one else mattered. One sunny afternoon, Ulima sat with her friend Adobe by the river. Adobe was braiding her hair, and they were talking about the upcoming festival in the neighboring village. The festival was a grand event, and the people from many villages would come to celebrate. "Uli, have you heard that Prince Obiora will be at the festival?" Adobe asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Of course, I have heard," Ulima replied with a confident smile. "And I will be there too. I'm sure he will notice me." "But Uli, there will be many beautiful maidens at that festival," Adobe said gently. "Maybe you should not get your hopes too high." "Nonsense, Adobe," Ulima said, waving her hand dismissively. "No, no one is as beautiful as I am. Prince Obiora will surely choose me." Adobe sighed but did not argue further. She knew Ulima was stubborn and always believed she was right. As the festival day approached, Ulima prepared herself with great care. She chose her finest clothes and adorned herself with the most beautiful jewelry. She braided her hair in a style that made her look even more stunning. She wanted to make sure that when Prince Obiora saw her, he would be mesmerized. The festival day had finally arrived, and excitement filled the air in the neighboring village. People from all around gathered to celebrate. The festival ground was alive with music, dancing, and laughter. Brightly colored decorations hung everywhere, and the scent of delicious food filled the air. Ulima, dressed in her dazzling yellow dress, arrived at the festival with high hopes. She was sure that today would be the day she meet Prince Obiora. She walked through the festival grounds with her head held high, attracting admiring glances from many villagers. As she moved through the bustling crowd, she couldn't help but scan the faces around her, searching for a glimpse of the handsome prince. She had heard so many stories about him and believed that once he saw her, he would be mesmerized by her beauty. Ulima walked past stalls selling colorful fabrics, delicious foods, and shiny trinkets. She stopped to watch a group of dancers performing a lively dance. The music was cheerful, and the dancers moved with grace and energy. But even as she watched, her mind was on Prince Obiora. "Have you seen Prince Obiora?" she asked one of the villagers standing nearby. "No, I haven't," the villager replied, "but I'm sure he will be here soon. He never misses the festival." Ulima smiled and thanked the villager. She continued to walk around, her eyes still searching. She met many people who admired her beauty and praised her dress, but none of that mattered to her. She only wanted to meet Prince Obiora. As the afternoon turned into evening, Ulima's excitement began to turn into disappointment. She had been at the festival for hours, but there was no sign of the prince. She decided to sit down and rest for a while, hoping that maybe he would arrive later. She found a quiet spot under a large tree and sat down, her yellow dress spreading out around her like a bright sunbeam. She watched as families enjoyed their meals, children played games, and friends laughed together. The festival was wonderful, but Ulima felt a growing sadness in her heart. Where could he be? She wondered aloud. He must come. He just has to. A few of her friends, Adobe among them, noticed her sitting alone and came over to join her. "Uli, why are you sitting here all by yourself?" Adobe asked, her voice full of concern. "I'm just waiting," Ulima replied with a sigh. "I was hoping to see Prince Obiora, but he hasn't come." Adobe and the other friends exchanged glances. They all knew how much Ulima had been looking forward to meeting the prince. "Don't be sad, Uli," Adobe said kindly. "Maybe something important came up and he couldn't make it. There will be other festivals." "But I was so sure he would be here," Ulima said, her voice filled with disappointment. "I wanted to meet him so badly." "Sometimes things don't go as we plan," Adobe said gently, "but that doesn't mean you should lose hope. Enjoy the festival with us. There are many fun things to do." Ulima nodded, trying to push away her disappointment. She got up and joined her friends as they walked around the festival together. They played games, watched more performances, and even tried to eat some delicious meals from the stalls. Ulima tried to have fun, but her heart was not in it. She kept thinking about the prince and wondering why he didn't show up. As night fell, the festival grounds were lit up with lanterns, and the music became softer and more magical. People gathered around to listen to the storytellers, whose tales filled the night with wonder. Ulima and her friends found a spot near one of the storytellers and sat down to listen. The storyteller was an old woman with a warm smile. She began her tale, and the crowd listened intently. The story was about a brave hunter who went on an adventure to find a rare and beautiful flower that could heal any illness. Along the way, the hunter faced many challenges but never gave up. In the end, his perseverance and kindness helped him find the flower and saved his village. Ulima listened to the story and felt a sense of calm wash over her. The hunter's determination and kindness reminded her of the things her father always told her about the importance of a good heart. She realized that beauty was not only the thing that mattered. Kindness, courage, and humility were just as important. After the story ended, the crowd clapped and cheered. Ulima smiled, feeling a little better. She turned to Adobe and said, "Thank you for being here with me. I feel better now." Adobe smiled back. "I'm glad to hear that, Uli. Remember, there's always another chance. Don't lose hope." As the night drew to a close, the festival slowly wound down. People began to leave, heading back to their homes with happy hearts and tired feet. Ulima and her friends walked back together, talking about the day's events and the stories they had heard. When Ulima returned home, her father, King Obieze, was waiting for her. He could see the sadness in her eyes and knew that she had been disappointed. "Uli, my dear," he said gently, "did you enjoy the festival?" "It was wonderful, father," Ulima replied, trying to sound cheerful. But Prince Obiora didn't come. King Obieze nodded and took her hand. "Sometimes things do not go as we hope, but that is no reason to be sad. You are young and beautiful, but remember that true beauty comes from within. Kindness, humility, and a good heart are what truly make a person beautiful." Ulima looked into her father's wise eyes and nodded. "I understand, father. I will try to be better. That is all I ask, my dear." King Obieze said with a smile, "Now get some rest. Tomorrow is a new day." Ulima went to bed that night, thinking about the festival, the storyteller's tale, and her father's words. She realized that she had been too focused on her looks and what she wanted. She decided that she would try to be kinder and more humble. She wanted to be someone who was beautiful both inside and outside. Prince Obiora had heard many stories about the beautiful maidens in the village of Ogu, especially about Ulima, the princess known for her striking beauty. He was curious and wanted to see for himself if any of them, particularly Ulima, had both the beauty and the kindness he sought in a wife. To find out, he decided to disguise himself as a poor farmer and visit Ogu village. Early one morning, Prince Obiora dressed in a simple worn-out clothes. He made himself look like a humble farmer and set off for Ogu. He left behind his royal robes and jewels, wanting to see the true nature of the villagers without revealing his identity. When he arrived in Ogu, the villagers did not recognize him as the prince. They saw only a poor farmer walking through their streets. Prince Obiora wandered around the village observing the people and their daily lives. As he walked, he came across a group of young maidens sitting under a tree, chatting and laughing. He approached them with a warm smile. "Good morning," he greeted them. "I am a traveler and have just arrived in your beautiful village. Could you tell me more about this place?" The maidens looked at him with surprise and amusement. One of them, Amara, replied, "Why should we talk to a poor farmer like you? Go find someone of your own kind to bother." The others laughed, and Prince Obiora felt a pang of disappointment. He had hoped to find kindness and hospitality, but instead, he was met with ridicule. He thanked them politely and continued on his way. As he walked further, he met more villagers, including some young men. They were busy working in the fields and did not pay much attention to him. He decided to rest for a while by a small stream, thinking about what he had seen so far. While he was resting, a young girl named Nneka approached him. She was carrying a basket of fruits and vegetables. She saw the tired look on his face and offered him some food. "You look like you've had a long journey," she said kindly. "Would you like some fruits? They are fresh from my family farm." Prince Obize smiled gratefully. "Thank you, Nneka. You are very kind." Nneka sat down beside him and they began to talk. She told him about the village and the people who lived there. She also spoke of the upcoming festival and how everyone was excited about it. As they talked, Prince Obiora realized that Nneka was different from other maidens he had met. She was kind, humble and generous. He was impressed by her sincerity and warmth. Later that day, Prince Obiora decided to visit the market. He wanted to see how the villagers interacted with each other and if he could find more maidens like Nneka. As he walked through the market, he saw many familiar faces, including the group of maidens who had ridiculed him earlier. One of them, Ifeoma, spotted him and nudged her friends. "Look, it's the poor farmer again," she said with a sneer. "Maybe he has come to beg for food." They all laughed and pointed at him, making him feel more unwelcome. Prince Obiora tried to ignore their taunts and continued to explore the market. As he walked, he overheard some villagers talking about Ulma. They spoke of her beauty and pride, and how she believed that only a prince was worthy of her. He became curious about her and wanted to see if she was as proud as the stories he heard. Prince Obiora asked around and found out where Ulma lived. He decided to visit the palace, still in his disguise as a poor farmer. When he arrived at her home, he found her sitting outside. She looked up as he approached. "Good afternoon, Ulma," he said politely. "I have heard many stories about your beauty and kindness. I am a traveler and I would like to get to know you better." Ulima looked at him with disdain. "A poor farmer like you wants to get to know me?" She scoffed. "You must be joking. I have no time for someone of your lowly status." Prince Obiora felt a mixture of disappointment and sadness. He had hoped that Ulima might be different, but she was just as proud and unkind as the stories had described. He thanked her and left, his heart heavy with the realization that finding a kind and humble maiden was not going to be easy. Determined to stay in Ugwu for a while longer to observe the villagers, Prince Obiora built a small hut on the edge of the village, near the fields where the farmer worked. It was a lonely spot, far from the bustling market and the busy streets. He wanted to see if the villagers would treat him any differently over time. As he settled into his simple life, he continued to encounter ridicule and mockery from the villagers. The young maidens, especially, would laugh at him and make fun of his worn clothes and humble appearance. Ulima, in particular, would often pass by his hut and sneer at him. "Look at you, living in a shabby hut," she would say. "Did you really think a poor farmer like you could ever win my favor?" Prince Obiora tried to remain patient and kind. Despite the harsh treatment, he continued to work in the fields, helping other farmers and learning about their lives. He also spent more time with Nneka, who remained the only one to show him kindness. One day, as he was walking in the fields, he heard a group of maidens talking nearby. They were discussing the upcoming festival and how they would love to impress the prince, who they believed would attend. "I heard Prince Obiora is very handsome and kind," one of them said. "I hope he notices me." "Why would he notice you?" Another one replied. "He will surely choose someone as beautiful and royal as Ulima." Ulima, who was nearby, smiled proudly. "Of course, he will choose me," she said. "I am the most beautiful and deserving maidens in this village." Prince Obiora sighed, realizing that Ulima's pride and arrogance were deeply rooted. He decided to give the villagers one last chance to prove their true nature. He would attend the festival in his disguise and see how they treated him. The festival day arrived, and the village was filled with excitement and joy. Colorful decorations hung everywhere, and the air was filled with music and laughter. Prince Obiora, still in his disguise, walked through the festival grounds observing the villagers. He saw Ulima dressed in a beautiful dress. Surrounded by admirers, she looked radiant but carried the same air of superiority. As he approached, she looked at him with disdain. "You again," she said. "Why do you keep following me? You are nothing but a poor farmer." Prince Obiora looked at her sadly. "I only wanted to see the festival and meet the people of this village," he replied. "But it seems I'm not welcome." Ulima turned away, ignoring him. Prince Obiora walked away, feeling a mix of disappointment and resignation. He knew that Ulima would never change, and he had seen enough to understand the true nature of the villagers. As the festivals continued, Prince Obiora spent time with Nneka, enjoying her company and kindness. They watched the dancers, listened to the storytellers, and shared a meal together. Nneka's warmth and humility reminded him of what he truly valued in a person. The festival in Ugu was in full swing. People from all around had gathered to celebrate with music, dance, and food. The villagers were excited and happy, enjoying the vibrant atmosphere. Prince Obiora, still disguised as a poor farmer, mingled with the crowd, observing the participation in the festivities. King Obieze, the ruler of Ugu Kingdom, walked through the festival grounds, greeting his people. As he looked around, he noticed a familiar face among the villagers. It was Prince Obiora, but he was dressed as a simple farmer. The king recognized him immediately, but remembered the instructions given by Prince Obiora's father, the king of the neighboring kingdom. The prince's father had sent a message instructing King Obieze to keep the prince's identity a secret during his visit. The neighboring kingdom was more powerful and influential than Ugu, and King Obieze respected their wishes. He was bound by the agreement and knew he had to follow the instructions. However, he was saddened by the way his daughter Ulima treated the disguised prince. As King Obieze watched from a distance, he saw Ulima talking to her friends. She looked proud and confident, surrounded by admirers. The king felt a deep sadness in his heart, thinking about how he had always advised his daughter to be humble and kind. "This is what I have always told her," he thought to himself. "Pride and arrogance will only lead to disappointment." Meanwhile, Prince Obiora continued to move through the festival, unnoticed by most. He saw Ulima, but she did not see him. Instead, she was busy entertaining her friends and admirers, completely unaware of the prince's presence. As the festival went on, Prince Obiora helped with various tasks, showing his willingness to work and his kind nature. He helped set up tables, served food, and even joined in the dances. Despite his humble appearance, he enjoyed himself and made an effort to get to know the villagers better. Some villagers began to notice his hardworking nature and friendly attitude. They started to appreciate his presence, although they still believed him to be a poor farmer. However, there were still many who ridiculed him, including some of the maidens who laughed at his simple clothes and modest manners. One day, while walking in the fields, Prince Obiora met an old farmer named Eze. Eze was known for his wisdom and kindness, and he welcomed the disguised prince warmly. "Thank you for helping us in the fields," Eze said. "You work hard and seem to have a good heart. What brings you to our village?" Prince Obiora smiled and replied, "I am a traveler, looking to learn and understand different places and people. I have found your village to be very interesting." Eze nodded. "It's good to have someone like you here. You remind us of the values we sometimes forget. Kindness, humility, and hard work are important." As days passed, King Obieze watched the disguised prince from afar, feeling both proud and sad. He was proud of Prince Obiora's humility and hard work, but saddened by Ulima's behavior. He knew that if Ulima continued to treat people with disdain, she would never find true happiness. One evening, King Obieze decided to talk to Ulima about her behavior. He called her to his chambers and spoke to her gently but firmly. "Ulima, my daughter, I have noticed how you treat the people around you," he began. "You are beautiful and talented, but pride and arrogance will only lead to loneliness and disappointment. Kindness and humility are what makes a person truly beautiful. I have always told you this." Ulima listened to her father but did not fully understand his words. She nodded and promised to think about what he had said, but in her heart, she still believed that her beauty and status made her superior to others. The next day, Prince Obiora went to the fields again to help the farmers. He worked tirelessly, earning the respect and admiration of those who saw his dedication. He met more villagers and made friends, but he still felt a sense of disappointment whenever he thought about Ulima. As days passed, Prince Obiora continued to help the villagers and build relationship with them. He spent time with Nneka, who remained kind and generous, and Eze, who shared his wisdom and stories. He learned about the village's histories, traditions and values, gaining a deeper understanding of the people of Ugu. Despite the ridicule and challenges he faced, Prince Obiora remained patient and kind. He believed that true beauty came from within and hoped that Ulima and others would one day understand this. King Obieze, watching the disguised prince's efforts, felt a growing sense of admiration for him. He knew that Prince Obiora was testing the villagers and observing their true nature. The king hoped that Ulima would learn from their experience and become a better person. One day, as the sun set over the village, Prince Obiora sat by his hut, reflecting on his journey. He thought about the people he had met, the lessons he had learned. Prince Obiora, disguised as a poor farmer, had initially come to Ugu village with hopes of finding a bride among its beautiful maidens. He was particularly interested in Ulima, the village princess known for her striking beauty. However, Ulima's pride and arrogance quickly became apparent, and she did not meet the criteria of a bride that Obiora was seeking. This realization saddened him deeply, but there was nothing he could do. He had to shift his focus to the only maiden who had shown him undiluted love and kindness, which is Nneka. Nneka had always been kind to Obiora. Since the day he arrived in Nugu, she offered him food and company when others mocked and ridiculed him. Her genuine warmth and humility had touched his heart, making him appreciate her more and more. However, before he could pursue a relationship with her, he wanted to verify her family background and gain their approval. One sunny afternoon, Obiora decided to visit Nneka's home. He wanted to learn more about her family and seek their acceptance. As he approached Nneka's house, he felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness. The house was modest but well kept, located at the edge of the village. As he arrived, he saw a tall and strong man sitting outside, sharpening his hunting tools. This was Nneka's father, Nanibe, a respected hunter in Ugu, known for his skill and bravery. Obiora took a deep breath and approached Nanibe, greeting him respectfully. "Good evening, Nani," he said politely. "My name is Obiora. I am a stranger in this land and a farmer. Your daughter Nneka is my friend, and I came to see her." Nanibe looked up from his work, his eyes narrowing as he looked in the sight of the poorly dressed young man before him. "Who are you looking for?" he asked in a deep, booming voice. Obiora stood his ground, trying to remain confident. "I came to see Nneka, your daughter," he replied. "She has been very kind to me since I arrived in this village." Nanibe's expression darkened as he heard the young man's words. He was protective of his daughter and did not take kindly to the idea of a wretched-looking man
being in contact with his daughter. He stood up, towering over Obiora, and spoke firmly. "You are not welcomed here," he said. "Leave my compound at once." Obiora felt a pang of disappointment but understood Nnaibe's protective instincts. He bowed his head respectfully and turned to leave.
As he walked away, he couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. He had hoped to learn more about Nneka's family and gain their approval, but it seemed that his humble appearance had worked against him. Determined not to give up, Obiora continued to work in the fields and help the villagers. He knew that actions spoke louder than words, and he hoped that over time he could prove his worth to Nneka's family and the rest of the village. Days turned into weeks, and Obiora continued to build relationship with the villagers. He spent more time with Nneka, appreciating her kindness and learning more about her life. They often sat by the stream, talking about their dreams and aspirations. One day, as they sat by the stream, Nneka looked at Obiora with concern. "Why do you look so sad, Obiora?" she asked gently. "You have been working so hard, yet you seem troubled." Obiora sighed and looked into her eyes. "Nneka, I have come to care for you deeply," he said. "You have shown me kindness and warmth that I have not found elsewhere. But when I visited your father, he did not welcome me. I am worried that he will not approve of our friendship." Nneka's eyes softened with understanding. "My father is a strong and proud man," she said. "He has always been protective of me. But I know that if he sees the goodness in your heart, he will come to accept you." Encouraged by Nneka's words, Obiora continued to work hard and show his true character to the villagers. He hoped that his actions would speak for themselves and that Nnanibe would eventually see past his humble appearance. One evening, as the sun was setting, Obiora decided to make another attempt to visit Nneka's home. He approached with a sense of determination, knowing that he had to prove his sincerity. When he arrived, he found Nnaibe sitting outside once again. This time, Nnaibe looked up with a hint of recognition. "You again?" he said. "What do you want this time?" Obiora stood tall and spoke with confidence. "Nnaibe, I understand your concerns," he said. "I am not just a poor farmer. I have come to this village to learn and understand its people. Your daughter Nneka has shown me kindness and warmth, and I care for her deeply. I ask for a chance to prove my worth." Nnanibe studied the young man before him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. After a long moment, he nodded softly. "Very well," he said. "But know this, young man. Actions speak louder than words. Show me that you are worthy of my daughter's friendship and respect." With a sense of hope, Obiora bowed his head and thanked Naibe. He knew that he had a long way to go, but he was determined to prove himself. As the days went by, Obiora continued to work hard and help the villagers. He spent more time with Nneka, sharing his dreams and learning more about her family. He also made an effort to build a relationship with Nnanibe, showing him respect and gratitude. As time went by, Obiora and Nneka's bond grew stronger. They spent more time together, sharing their dreams and hopes for the future. Nneka's family began to accept Obiora, seeing the goodness in his heart. One evening, as the sun set over the village, Obiora sat with Nneka by the stream. He looked into her eyes and spoke from his heart. "Nneka, you have shown me the true meaning of kindness and love," he said. "I came to this village seeking a bride, and I have found someone who embodies the values I hold dear. Will you accept me as your partner?" Nneka's eyes filled with tears of joy as she nodded. "Yes, Obiora," she said, "I will." With a sense of fulfillment and happiness, Obiora knew that he had found not only a bride, but also a true partner who shared his values and dreams. When the other maidens in Ugu village saw Nneka spending time with the poor farmer, they couldn't believe it. They gathered in small groups, whispering and giggling about her choice. Can you believe it? One of the girls, Amara, said with a sneer, Nneka is choosing that wretched farmer over all the eligible men in our village. Another girl, Ifoma, laughed. She must have lost her mind. Who would want to be with someone so poor and lowly? Nneka, who often overheard their mocking comments, would just look at them and walk away without saying a word. She knew her heart, and it was full of love for Obiora. No amount of ridicule could change that. Prince Obiora, still in his disguise as a poor farmer, was watching closely. He wanted to see if Nneka would stay true to her feelings despite the pressure from others. He was impressed by her strength and loyalty, but needed to be sure she wouldn't change her mind. At home, Nneka faced another challenge. Her mother, Norma, was not happy with her daughter's choice. Norma wished for Nneka to marry someone wealthy who could provide a better life for her. Each time she saw Obiora with Nneka, she would frown and find an excuse to send Nneka away on unnecessary errands. Nneka, go fetch some water from the stream, Norma would say, even if they had enough water at home. Or Nneka, I need you to help me in the kitchen, even when there was no urgent need. Despite Norma's disapproval and the way she tried to keep them apart, Nneka's love for Obiora never wavered. She appreciated how hard he worked, even if it was for free on their farmlands. She saw his kindness and dedication, and that was more valuable to her than wealth. One day, Obiora came to Nneka with a serious look on his face. Nneka, I have something important to tell you, he said. Nneka looked at him with concern. What is it, Obiora? I need to travel to my town, he explained. An emergency has come up and I must go, but I promise to return in 3 days. Nneka's heart sank at the thought of him leaving, even if only for a few days. Will you be safe? She asked. Yes, I will, Obiora assured her. Before I go, I want to give you something very special. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a gold necklace. This is a symbol of my love for you. Please keep it safe. Nneka's eyes widened in shock. How did you get this? This must have cost a fortune. Obiora smiled. It was given to me by my late mother. It is very precious to me, just like you are. He gently placed the necklace around her neck. Nneka touched the necklace, feeling its weight and the love behind it. Thank you, Obiora. I will keep it safe always. Obiora hugged her tightly before he left, whispering in her ear, I will be back soon. As Obora departed, Nneka felt a mix of sadness and hope. She knew she had to be strong until he returned. The next day, when Nneka was walking in the fields, the other maidens noticed the gold necklace around her neck. Amara and Ifoma approached her, their eyes filled with curiosity and envy. Where did you get that necklace, Nneka? Amara asked, trying to hide her jealousy. It looks expensive, Ifoma added. Did that poor farmer give it to you? Nneka smiled softly. Yes, he did. It belonged to his late mother. It's very special to him, just like he is special to me. The girls exchanged surprised glances. A poor farmer with a gold necklace. Amara scoffed. That sounds like a fairy tale. Or a trick, Ifoma said with a smile. Be careful, Nneka. He might not be who he seems. Nneka knew they were just trying to plant doubt in her mind, but her heart remained steadfast. She trusted Obiora and believed in his love for her. Back at home, Norma noticed the necklace as well. She frowned deeply when she saw it. Where did you get that necklace from, Nneka? Obiora gave it to me, Nneka replied calmly. It belonged to his late mother. He wanted me to have it as a symbol of his love. Norma's face darkened with anger. That farmer again? I don't trust him, Nneka. You should be with someone who can provide for you, not a poor man who can barely take care of himself. Nneka sighed, knowing her mother's concerns came from a place of love. Mother, Obiora has shown me more kindness and love than anyone else. I believe in him and our future together. Norma shook her head, frustrated. You are making a mistake, Nneka. I just hope you realize it before it is too late. Despite her mother's disapproval and the mockery from the other maidens, Nneka's resolve never wavered. She knew her heart and it belonged to Obiora. 3 days passed slowly from Nneka. She missed Obiora dearly and worried about his safety. She often found herself touching the necklace, feeling its weight and remembering his promises to return. Finally, on the third day, Nneka was walking in the field when she saw a figure approaching from the distance. Her heart leaped with joy as she recognized Obiora. He was back. She ran to meet him, her smile wide and her eyes shining with happiness. Obiora, you are back. Obora smiled as he embraced her. Yes, Nneka, I promised I would return. They stood there, holding each other, grateful for the love that had brought them together despite all the challenges. Meanwhile, back in the village, whispers about Nneka and the poor farmer continued, but Nneka didn't care. She had found something far more valuable than wealth and love. Only the king and Obiora knew his true identity, and as time went on, the king watched with a mix of sadness and pride. He had seen his daughter, Ulma, turn away from what could have been a wonderful opportunity. Yet he also saw Nneka's pure heart and unwavering love for Obiora, even when he was disguised as a poor farmer. One day, the king called Ulima to his chamber. My daughter, he said gently, do you see what true love looks like? Ulima frowned, confused. What do you mean, father? Look at Nneka and Obiora. The king said, despite all the challenges, they have stayed true to each other. Love is not about wealth or status. It is about the heart. Ulima listened, her pride slowly melting away as she realized the wisdom in her father's words. She had much to learn about true love and humility. As for Obiora and Nneka, their bond grew stronger each day. They faced challenges together, supported each other, and cherished the love they had found. Obiora knew that the time would come when he would reveal his true identity, but for now, he was content in knowing that Nneka loved him for who he was, not for his title or wealth. Their story was a testament to the power of true love. Prince Obiora had been in Ugu village for several months, disguised as a poor farmer. During this time, he had found the love in Nneka and earned the respect of the villagers. Now he felt it was time to reveal his true identity. One morning, Obiora decided to speak to Nneka about his plan. They met by the river, their favorite spot. The water flowed gently, and the birds sang softly in the trees. Nneka, Obiora began, taking her hand. There is something I want to tell you. It is very important. Nneka looked at him with concern. What is it, Obiora? He took a deep breath. My real name is Prince Obiora. I am the son of King Ikenga from a neighboring kingdom. I came here disguised as a poor farmer to find a bride who values kindness and character over wealth and status. Nneka's eyes widened in shock. You are a prince? She whispered. Yes, he replied. I choose you because you have shown me true love and kindness. You are the one I want to marry. Tears of joy filled Nneka's eyes. I don't know what to say, Obiora. I love you too, with all my heart. They embraced, their love now stronger than ever. Later that day, Prince Obiora went to see the king, Ulima's father. He knelt before him and said, "Your Majesty, I have a confession to make. I am not a poor farmer. I am Prince Obiora from a neighboring kingdom." The king nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "I know your identity, Prince Obiora. Your father and I had agreed to keep it a secret. I wanted my people, especially my daughter Ulma, to understand the true value of kindness and humility." Prince Obiora bowed his head. "Thank you for allowing me to stay and for your guidance, my king." The king smiled. "You have shown great wisdom and humility, Obiora. It is time for the village to know the truth." After the meeting with the king, Obiora, the prince, returned to his kingdom so he can come with his father and family for the proper introduction and marriage rites. That evening at Ugu, the king called a meeting in the village square. All the villagers gathered, curious about what was happening. Nneka stood beside Obiora, who was royally dressed. To the amazement of everyone, the king addressed the crowd. "My dear people, today we have a very important announcement. The young man you know as Obiora, the poor farmer, is in fact Prince Obiora from a neighboring kingdom." There was a gasp of surprise from the crowd. The maidens who had mocked him looked at each other in shock and embarrassment. Ulima, standing at the front, felt a mixture of disbelief and regret. Prince Obiora stepped forward. "I came here in disguise to find a bride who values kindness and character over wealth and status. In Nneka, I have found that person. She has shown me true love and humility." The villagers began to cheer, realizing that they had a prince among them. Nneka blushed, feeling both happy and overwhelmed. One of the villagers, Amara, who had mocked Obiora the most, stepped forward and said, "We are sorry for how we treated you, Prince Obiora. We did not know your true worth." Obiora smiled kindly. "It is all right, Amara. I wanted to see the true nature of people here, and I have found many good hearts." Norma, Nneka's mother, approached them with a tearful smile. "I was very wrong about you, Prince Obiora. Please forgive me for doubting you." Obiora nodded. "There is nothing to forgive, Mama. Your concern for Nneka is understandable." The villagers celebrated late into the night, honoring the prince and Nneka. The king, Obiora's father, announced that there would be a grand wedding in the coming days to unite the two kingdoms. As the preparations for the wedding began, Ulima approached Nneka. "I misjudged you, Nneka. You saw what I couldn't see. I am happy for you." Nneka smiled warmly. "Thank you, Ulima. I hope you find the same happiness." The day of the wedding arrived, and it was a grand celebration. Villagers from Ugu and Obiora's kingdom came together to witness the union of Prince Obiora and Nneka. The ceremony was beautiful, filled with music, dancing, and joyous laughter. As they exchanged vows, Princess Obiora looked into Nneka's eyes and said, "I promise to love and cherish you for all the days of our lives. You are my true love and my queen." Nneka, with tears of happiness in her eyes, replied, "I promise to stand by you and support you. You are my prince and my love." The crowd cheered as they were pronounced husband and wife. The two kingdoms were united, and the villagers celebrated their new beginning. In the days that followed, Prince Obiora and Nneka ruled with kindness and wisdom. They worked together to bring prosperity to both kingdoms, and their love continued to inspire those around them. The villagers of Ugu never forgot the lesson they had learned about true worth and kindness. Ulima too found happiness in her own way, understanding that true beauty lies within. And so, Prince Obiora and Nneka lived happily ever after. their love story becoming a legend that was told for generations to come. The story of Ulma and Prince Obiora taught the villagers an important lesson: pride and arrogance never bring true happiness. Beauty without love and good character is meaningless. Ulima realized that being kind and humble was more valuable than being proud. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures, where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonder, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.